Up on the stream. Dave, why don't you do a little intro just in case?
Oh, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Over Coffee, our morning gaming talk show, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6:30 in the morning, where we talk about games or just about anything else. I'm here with my co-hosts, Doug and John. Rich is off this morning. And I got a chance to play Call of Cthulhu last night. Have you guys gotten a chance to play any? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a second. It is May 19th, 2021, in the year of the Apocalypse Plus, Wednesday. Did you guys get a chance to play anything interesting recently?
Not anything super interesting. Just want to see if the okay, yeah, audio levels are good. Just wanted to make sure.
Great.
Streamlabs did that update thing, and every time it does, I realize that it drops out the input channel. So it's like
Oh,
I was just complaining about that with Doug while you were away. Is that like yeah? So it's like all right, we did an update, and all your stuff is just not external audio, just your microphone.
oh,
So I
okay.
don't know why. The first time that happened, I was doing an episode, and I think it was you were actually on, Dave, in that like you realized that Jonah was the only person who was making any noise.
Oh,
So
right, right, right.
yeah, but I've been getting back into Minecraft. So
That's
I was
wild.
mentioning it just before the show. My mighty Dan, who actually him and his wife just had a baby last night. Little
Congratulations.
girl, Luca, who was 8.5 pounds. So big baby. But
Wow.
we were trying to find stuff to like play on Sundays. It's usually the only time that we can play, and even with the new baby now, that's going to be a bit up in the air. But trying to find stuff that both of us can kind of just casually get into, but that's also like fun and fulfilling. Because I've mentioned on the show before, we played a lot of survival games or like world building games or whatever, and
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that they do well, but I feel like there's always something missing, and I've tried to figure out like what it is that I'm looking for or what it is that these games don't deliver that goes along with what I wanted to play. And I think like the one we were playing for the longest time recently was Raft, which I mentioned to Rich, where
Right.
you're on a boat and you're getting resources. And the way that Dan put it was that you spend a lot of time and effort trying to gather resources just for the most basic things. That it's a huge time dump just to get started. But once you do, that's all that there is to it. It's just building for the sake of building. It's not really accomplishing anything.
Okay, right.
So I know you mentioned like anything that we've played recently. I've been looking into or thinking about trying to get into more role playing stuff, just because right now I'm not doing anything. Although that might change as once things kind of start smoothing out with the store, which I've seen photos from Courtney that there's paintings coming along real good. So I'm gonna probably duck in and see how that's coming along. But no, I can't really think of anything role playing wise. But like I said, it's trying to find something to get into. It's just when you don't know anybody personally, you have to kind of like fish around online and find something that one you hope catches your eye, and two you hope that when you actually join is engaging and worthwhile enough that's gonna be worth your time. Especially because a lot of times games online now typically you have to pay for too. So a
Right.
lot of people are charging, which I mean I could understand, and that's maybe a separate topic. But like it's a when you have a monetary commitment as well, that can be kind of tricky too.
Yeah. What are you paying for Minecraft right now to like have a server and stuff?
No, 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 no. Like I said, I found a website that lets you that basically will give you a server for free. So yeah, you just I mean, there's limitations, but yeah, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg or go through the crazy hurdles of I'm going to go more into detail with this, but before I do that, Doug, do you want to chime in with anything before I take over the conversation?
Doug,
Oh,
have
I
you
mean,
played anything in the last week that's interesting? You did some airsoft, I know, but what anything else?
last night I was playing this game called Everspace 2.
Hmm.
Um, the Everspace 1 was like one of those roguelike games where you're in a ship and you have to get as far as you can in the sectors, before you die and you can continue to level up and get better so that you can get farther.
Yeah.
This one's a little different. You have a home base now, And like they kind of upgraded it. It's a different kind of a roguelike. I feel like it's still very similar, but this time instead there's progression, right? So the progression is a little different. So instead of credits and buying stuff for your ship, you're leveling up with your ship and doing all that kind of stuff. It's still in early stages and early release, but it's pretty damn good actually. I love space sims.
It's cool because it looks more like almost like a dogfighting kind of thing where you're actively controlling as opposed to like just floating
Yes,
around. So it looks kind of
yes,
cool.
exactly.
There was a game that was on the Switch, and I think they ported it to other stuff not too long ago called Starlink. I think was what it was called, and the interesting thing is it was one of those toy to life games. Actually, maybe not. It might not have been Starlink. Hold on, I'm trying to look it up. Toys to life. Oh no, it is called Starlink. All right, but it's funny because like when I searched for it, it wasn't even the first thing to pop up under Starlink. So I'm wondering if it's didn't really do too well. But the point was is that you had a couple of different ships. You could actually customize different pieces and parts to them, and you would basically fly around to different planets, just kind of hitting objectives and trying to liberate bases, gather resources. It wasn't really a roguelike and it wasn't procedurally generated, but it still was like, you're flying around, you're managing things, you're discovering new things. So it's kind of cool.
Is it called Starlink: The Battle for
Yes.
Atlas? Okay.
It was unfortunately I think it was a major flop because they decided to release it after the. Well, all right. Do either of you guys know the term "toys to life"? Do you guys know what that it
No,
means?
no.
So, quickest way to explain it, Toys for Life means that you have a video game that you play, but you have physical like objects that you can interact with that unlocks things in the game or
Toys to life.
toys to life. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead.
It actually originated with this thing called Skylanders. Skylanders
Oh yeah, I remember
was
Skylanders. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, it was funny because Skylanders actually revitalized the Spyro brand because it was a game series that was kind of on the radar for a long time, and they decided to do this thing, and it was both hugely popular, and then immediately kind of like the bubble popped, and then it just like. So like they came out with Skylanders, it was super popular. They were cranking out a ton of Skylanders. Then a bunch of other people jumped onto the bandwagon, and within I don't know, maybe like 10 years, it was all just gone. Just the whole concept has been completely abandoned. Um,
Skylanders had $3 billion worth of sales over 4 years.
man,
That's crazy.
you had Lego. Lego got in with Lego Dimensions. You had Disney tried it with Disney Infinity, but all that stuff is just gone. Like it's completely abandoned. It might come back in the future if they could find like a cheaper way to do it or a cooler way to do it. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where a new idea, a new genre, and then either got overinflated or um, just kind of ran out of steam, and then it just kind of fell apart.
Hmm. There's a
But
whole list of them. There's a
oh
whole
yeah,
list.
no, I didn't even realize there was that
UB
many of them.
Fun
Looking at that.
Keys, BioBytes, FAMPS, Pokemon Rumble, Disney Infinity, Telepods, Disney Playmation, Hero Plug and Play, Sick Bricks, Lego Dimensions, Starlink, Battle for Atlas. This is recent. This is 2018, 2019 for Starlink.
I'm just glad that they died because I'm going to be 100% honest here. I think that I mean, listen, at the end of the day, some of these are cool, some of them are not.
Oh, hold
Some
on.
of them, it was a fad. It's just a fad.
Zynos jumping in. My kiddos still like playing the Skylanders games. Yeah, the video games themselves were cool. It was on its face, it's still a neat idea, and I think Nintendo is actually still supporting it because Nintendo still has these things called Oh, so here's a great conversation we could talk about. I was going to mention something else, but we could dovetail into this because I just read it this morning. So the only company that's still doing anything somewhat similar to like Toys for Life or whatever is Nintendo, because Nintendo came out with these things called amiibos. Have you guys heard about those?
It sounds like a germ of some sort.
Yeah,
Amiibos.
we sold amiibos at Game Master Games.
Yeah, amiibos were, again, they were like little toys, kind of like this, like I actually have a bunch of them. And what would happen is that you would put it on like a sensor for either the Wii U or your 3DS or your Switch now, and you would use it for certain things. Like not every game used every single amiibo, but some games are interactive. So Nintendo this summer is re-releasing Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword, which arguably is one of the more critically conflicted titles, and that some people like it, some people hate it, but it's probably like one of the black sheeps in the franchise, second only to Legend of Zelda 2 and the ones that came out for the CDI that nobody actually ever played. But the point is that they're re-releasing it, and they said, "Oh, we have a special package coming out that we have an exclusive amiibo for it." Oh, we just lost Dave. Dave, you there? Dave?
No,
Oh, he's probably switching over. All right. So anyway, the point is that they're releasing this special packaging. They're releasing this amiibo, and the amiibo unlocks a feature in the game, like a. Oh yeah, there's also right. As I know, I said there's a Lego has its standalone Super Mario set that uses a companion mobile app. That's a little bit different in that it's a physical toy where you use an app to kind of do stuff with, where it's more about the actual physical toy itself. Toys for Life and the Amiibos is almost opposite in that it's the game first and then the toys they have additional actions or things that they unlock. Anyway, the point with the Zelda thing is that there's a cool feature and a cool like quality of life improvement to the game that you can only unlock by getting the amiibo. And a lot of people on Twitter were upset because it's like that's kind of a BS thing to take something that is a function of the game that could make the game play, better, but you're basically sealing up behind a purchasable product, that you can't get other than that. So yeah, that's kind of a little skeevy, but that's something that unfortunately Nintendo has been doing because Nintendo kind of looks at a lot of their stuff in a more toy manufacturer mindset as opposed to a video game company mindset. But that's just something that they've been almost since their inception. I'm
I,
surprised. I've only really seen it at like at Gen Con, but I'm surprised that there's not more tabletop games that use like companion apps or like some kind of like a digital function to it to like expand upon it. I mean,
there's a lot.
I know most games have like like team builders or things that might be able to track certain
No, no, no,
things.
no, John. So there's a lot of board games now that are using companion apps. Like Cool Mini or Not has a bunch of them. There's a lot of fan made ones for certain for like certain RPG esque board games and stuff like that. So there are a few that have companion apps. Maybe not like and
Direct connection to the game.
yeah, like Mansions of Madness has one, right?
Well, because and those are more for. I mean, other than a few games where you need the app to play the game, and if anything, it's just because the it's funny because like it's the game and the app aren't exactly communicating with each other. They're just, one is supplementing the other, and that most companion apps are this is going to handle a lot of the rules and this will handle certain things to make the game cleaner to play. It's not like the app is specifically detecting, oh, I have a piece here. Like, you ever hear, there was a game that came out on the PlayStation 3 that was a really cool idea, and unfortunately, I think it really went nowhere, called Eye of Judgment. Does that ring any bells?
No.
So the way that Eye of Judgment worked for the PlayStation 3 was you had a map. It was like a 3 by 3 grid where what was going to happen is you would take a card which had like a little barcode or something like that, and you put it on the grid, and the video game, using like the camera for the PlayStation 3, would bring the card to life. Like it would detect, oh, this is where this thing is. Whoop, I'm going to bring that up, and it knows what the stats are. So when you move the card from one space of the grid to the other, and when your opponent played cards too, they actually did directly interact with each other. So there was still a physical game, but the app was actively connecting and doing stuff with it live. The thing I was talking about with Gen Con is I believe that there was a tabletop game that I saw where the miniatures had like a chip or something like maybe like an RF reader in the base of the Mini, and you had like a little digital pen. So you would kind of like run the digital pen on the Mini, and then when you would move it around, it would make stuff happen on the video game side, which I think is still a little too much effort. I think that might have been the same problem with Eye of Judgment, but I mean, it'd be cool if you had like, like if it got to the point where your phone could really do like AR, like alternate reality stuff, and like, be able to like have interactable stuff on the fly, as opposed to just feeding information to the app and just having it record that stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, I know what you mean. I'm thinking, I don't know, the Toys to Life thing is okay. I don't know if it's like there yet in a way that uh, that RPGs can take advantage of it. Right. I think it's possible. I just don't think it's there yet.
The closest thing I can think of for what I'm talking about is, and now that we have Dave back, have you guys seen any of those? Like, including Nintendo. Nintendo is one that I definitely know does this, but I'm sure there's other companies do, where they have like RC cars that have a lot of AR elements to it. Like you can build like a customizable track, and like it actually has like elements that like a video game will pop pop up in an augmented reality situation. Like Nintendo has these remote controlled Mario Kart cars where you actually play with the controller, like you control it with the video game, like the Switch, and the car drives in real life, but like you're actually steering it with the video game and you're running over stuff that it's populating, but it's still playing in like a real space, you know.
Huh. So are there obstacles in the game, but there's also obstacles in real life? Is that?
Yeah, well, because you're putting the track down in your house, so like you
Okay.
literally are
No, it's on the
building
track.
a track where, well, it's a track in the sense of like you have like cardboard markers and like it's whatever you decide the track is going to be. But I
Yeah.
mean, like it'd be the same as like you just putting duct tape down in your house.
Okay.
But as you play the game, there's actual stuff coming up in the game that's popping up that you could drive through, and like it gives you items that you could use to like slow down your, well, not really other cars because you're playing against like computer controlled cars, but
Yeah.
it's cool. I think it's called like Mario Super Circuit or something, or the Mario RC car.
Now, one of the things that I saw at Toy Fair for a couple years, and I don't know, I think there was a couple games that were trying to experiment with it, and I don't know if they were very successful at all. But I thought of a great idea that it could be used for role-playing games. And what it is was you downloaded an app on your phone, and then you scanned a QR code. Each monster had a different QR code, and then you brought your phone over the QR code, and there was an animated picture of the monster, so you could see it in 3D, hovering over the QR code. So this way, role playing games, you could sort of, really use it to give a description of what the creature looks like or whatever. But I think they tried to make a couple games. It's not really Toys to Life, but
But
it is like a supplement, an additional thing.
Zino, I'll jump into your comment in just a second, but yeah, that's kind of like what I was just talking about before. Where you might have been like transferring over to the car, in that there was a PlayStation 3 game called Eye of Judgment, where the cards
Yeah.
had scannable things, and that they would come to life in the video game. That almost reminds me of like bar keys. Like there was a game, like a device where you would scan barcodes, and it would make like little monsters pop up. It was like a Tamagotchi knockoff or whatever. But Zynor's comment was that my complaint is when I was a kid, I used my imagination. I didn't have a device to be imaginative for me. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, that's a good one.
no, but we
That's a
still
good
had
It's a good one.
toys. Yeah, I mean, you still had physical toys.
Yeah,
I think what we're
but
talking about
John.
is,
Okay.
I get
Okay.
about being imaginative. I would always think like, heck, even when like I was in the train ride or on a car ride, like a very long train ride, I would think of like somebody running along and like jumping on the buildings and stuff like that, and doing something cool like that. But like, I mean, I think kids are still imaginative. I just think it's interesting that
No, they're not. They're glued to television now. They're glued to TVs. They're glued to video games, And if they're not glued to video games, they're glued to TikTok. Their imagination is very, very low now.
Well, no, it's not that their imagination is low. It's that they're obsessed with like media that they take in. They're not. It's not that they're not still being imaginative or doing their own thing. It's just that there's also this underlying element of like doing what's in the now or getting popular. And I think that's one of those like snake eating its own tail things. And that like they see other people getting popular and getting big, and then they try to do it. And it's the kind of thing that like we didn't have growing up. Like you didn't have a way of like connecting on a wide scale. So much so, like you had like maybe like
Which
a
is
local.
okay. And then that's why we have like deeper relationships with some of our friends. That's why I have a best friend of 28 years, because you know, we built a relationship based on real things instead of fake things.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but that's not necessarily like that's fine in some senses. But there's also a lot of people who I grew up and I hung out with who I haven't seen in probably like granted COVID-19 is the big black mark on that thing, but like
Yeah.
I have a lot of adult friends who I have who I haven't seen in months or years. I've got people going back a long time that like and granted like like it's a little bit different in some aspects. Like my Dan's my best friend, and like yeah he moved, but we still make an effort to hang out online. And we wouldn't be able to do that if the technology didn't exist. But I have people who I know still live in New York who also have, they've grown up and they've gotten married or whatever, and they just, we don't see them. They don't come out. They are just kind of have their own thing going on. And
Yeah.
that's not a problem, but like, it's the kind of thing of like, that's more of an adult issue of like finding the time to just hang out with friends, but also sometimes it's easier to just like be involved in your own thing. I've got friends who I've made through the store who I've seen in person more than people I've known for years. Oh,
Yeah.
a couple of things from
Right.
Zynar. Hold on, real quick. Zynar, I like the integration of technology and applications where it can enhance things, but some toys play by themselves. I would love for HoloLens to be made into a mobile AR video game console. Kids can play outside with their tech and video games.
100%. I'm 1,000% on board with that one.
That was kind of like Google Glass, but I think it was a little bit too early for that. The technology just wasn't affordable enough. But like as they
Listen, just think of it this way. Imagine Pokemon Go put in your glasses. You don't need your phone out. You could go out and do something like in the real and like join up. Uh, the technology is there. It's just not people
Or
aren't.
even like laser tag, like laser tag where you actually have like lasers that you can see instead of just being like infrared that like, oh, I got you, like, whatever. Like
I
the
don't know
funny
about
thing,
you, man. I play airsoft. Laser tag, that's some
yeah,
janky
but
shit.
airsoft is different in that airsoft can physically hurt people. Like I get
Oh,
it, and I know, but also you need the equipment, you need the air canisters, you need the pellets, you need a place where you can run around. Like if you have laser, and also you have to like, it's not something you can play inside your house. You know, like laser tag. If you have something where you can actually see the lasers and you can run around and jump around like all the commercials did, like that would be fun. I can totally imagine kids loving that stuff. So it's like, and that's something that like you could fire off in your house and not wreck everything. Like I'm not diminishing airsoft. I know it's a lot of fun. I had an airsoft rifle, but it's way different, and it's not something you could give a 5-year-old.
I
You're not going
mean,
to give
you
it.
could give a 5-year-old an airsoft pistol. Just don't load it.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there-
I can give a 5-year-old a knife as long as they like never take it out of the sheath and just look at it. You can't hold the knife, you can't touch the knife, but here's a knife, you own it, just look at it.
I don't know about you, but as a rite of passage, giving someone a Swiss Army knife is always good.
well, there you go. I carried a Swiss Army knife for years.
See, John. See, do you see, John?
I
Can
didn't
you
have the tech
see?
when I was a kid. I didn't have the technology, but I used a lot of imagination refighting World War II in Europe in my backyard.
Exactly. You couldn't have done that if you were glued to your phone.
Like,
Or playing a World Series with that backstop. You know, that you throw the baseball at that backstop, that spiderweb looking thing, and it bounces back at you. I played many World Series games on that thing.
Brian and I played the Battle of Geonosis in my backyard with Connect guns with like little Connect laser blasters because we watched Battle of the Clones or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I think you guys are talking about things as if like how actively do you play with kids? Like a lot of things you guys are complaining and talking about is the perception of kids nowadays. Like kids still play. Kids are still active. Like yes, video games, phones, a lot of that stuff does dominate a large part of their
When
lives.
was
But
the last time that you saw kids outside playing that?
I have tons of nieces and well, I don't have any nephews, but I have tons of nieces and they, you know, they play on their phones and they love to play outside. You know,
So,
like they
so
love.
actually, to answer Doug's question, yesterday, my neighbor is 5 years old and he loves gardening. So he's planting plants.
That's not what I asked.
They
I asked, when was the
they got,
last time you saw a group of kids outside
yeah,
playing Manhunt?
not recently.
Yeah, I haven't seen Manhunt being played in years.
Red light, green light.
Well, you know that's a joke, but
No, I played red light, green light.
yeah, but like when we were like in class in school.
Like the point is, like kids still play, especially like on the playground. You know, like
But
there's
they play
oh,
like very less.
Zino did make a good point. With COVID, many kids did not get out as much, and that
True.
is right. That is unfortunately a
That's
thing.
true.
But I mean, like, and hopefully, you know, we'll get. I know there's a big push to get people out there, and a lot of people like even I was in the supermarket yesterday, and somebody there was like, "Oh, have you heard like you know starting tomorrow, which is today, um, you can go out without your mask." And I personally, I don't want to have that discussion right now because I think we can't squeeze it in 4 minutes. But like in general, I know people are finally starting to really kind of come out more.
Yeah, but
Um,
you still gotta bring your mask because not
you
all
should still
businesses.
like it's yeah.
No, it's not all businesses are going to allow it. So
It's not
not
even.
all
Oh, it's not
businesses.
even that. Like, it's the idea would be if everybody is vaccinated, so that herd immunity is a thing. But I personally know people who are not going to be vaccinated, which means there's a risk. And granted, yeah, is it a small risk? But like the fact that it's still a lethal virus does mean that there is a risk out there, no matter what precautions you take.
If
So
you're yes, so that means you're going to be wearing a mask for the rest of your life, John. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if necessary, like until this thing. Oh, no, maybe not necessarily for the next 30 or 40 years, but maybe for like another year or so until things are settled down. Like,
No, you just said it's going to be around forever. The COVID-19 is a variant of SARS. It's going to be around forever, man.
yeah, but once herd immunity kicks in and that we're able to deal with it in the same way that we do the flu or a cold, then no, there
John,
won't necessarily be the need for masks. But at the same
you
time,
are vaccinated. It reduces it reduces the symptoms to a point so you don't die.
but there can be
I
mutations,
think the
like there can be alterations or things that are abnormal. Yes, Zino says, even if I ever feel a bit sick, even with a cold, I will wear a mask. And that's fine. Other countries have been doing that for years. You know,
Uh-huh.
like countries in Asia, they have a cultural thing going before COVID where if you feel sick, you wear a mask. There are
Or
people
don't go
here in
out.
the
Or
States
don't go out.
who will go to
we're going to
work.
go out. Yeah.
You
Right.
just don't go out. Like I think the easiest thing is if you feel sick, stay the fuck home.
Well,
Excuse my French. Oh my
some
God.
people have to. You know, some people have jobs that don't permit them sick time. Some people have situations where they might have to go out for whatever reason.
Jobs are going to have to change because of this. Like if you're going to have people in person and there's a huge disease going around, if I'm sick, stay the hell home.
I think what we're going to get to is that everybody that is vaccinated will eventually feel safe. I don't know how long it's going to take to walk around all the time without a mask. And those that aren't vaccinated are the ones that are taking their own lives in their own
Let
hands.
me give you guys a great example of something. How many times have you guys heard of the I'm trying to think of the exact name, like the Pax plague or like the con flu or whatever it was, of like you go to a
Yeah,
major
yeah.
convention
Everybody
or
gets sick
something.
everybody
Pax
gets sick.
pox, I think. Right, like anytime that you go to a major convention and like you know you hear about like something kicking around and it spreads to everybody there. Oh, Zynar said, con crud. Tell those corporate money bags that people can stay home and not be productive.
I'll see you guys later. I got to split.
Oh, well, yeah, it's about time anyway. So we can maybe we could talk about this on Friday when Rich is back. So thank you everybody so much for joining us. Oh, Dave, do you want to do your quick wrap ups? And if you guys have anything to promote or anything to
Yeah, we're good.
My
So,
show tonight, 10 p.m. My board game show tonight, 10 p.m.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day and good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I can't seem to